Hello and welcome back to a new video series here on the BSH YouTube channel and in your podcast feeds. It's the Every 5 Games series where I go over the Flyers storylines going on right now and take a look at team and player performances in 5-game chunks. This is the second video in the series, but it's the first one we're also putting on the podcast feed, so for you audio-only folks, I'll do my best to make sure I verbalize as much as I can so you're not missing out. This Every 5 Game series is proudly sponsored by FanDuel, who we thank for being a sponsor here at Broad Street Hockey. And before I get into the meat of the video, just a quick reminder, since this is only the second video in the series, my thought process behind these videos is to look at the team and player performances in small chunks, because I think it's a good sample size rather than getting too high or too low just because of 1 or 2 games. Finally, for our YouTube viewers, please take a second to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you aren't already. It helps the channel and the website keep pumping out that Flyers content you love from us here at BSH. Alright, so the first thing on deck here are some storylines, and the first one I'm going to get to is a little recap of the last 5 games and my takeaways. And looking at the Flyers' last 5 games, are the Flyers maybe, possibly, potentially kind of good? So last Monday, the Seattle Kraken came to town, and at that point, surprisingly, they hadn't lost in regulation yet. But the Flyers straight up dominated them and gave them that first regulation L, beating them 5-2. Cam York had 3 assists in the game, and Owen Tippett scored 2 of the 5 goals in maybe the most dominant performance of the season so far from the team. I don't know, I haven't really been keeping track of a ranking or anything. On one other note, the Flyers were up by 3 goals for almost half the game, but Jet Luchenko only got 8 minutes and 43 seconds of ice time. That was kind of the writing on the wall for Luchenko if Tocchet couldn't get him an extra shift while the team was up 3 goals, but I'll touch on Jet in just a little bit. Their next game, the Flyers went on the road up to the great capital of Ottawa and had themselves a stinker. Tyson Forster had the lone goal in this one for the Flyers, and our old friend Olli Lycksell scored the game winner for Ottawa, who won 2-1. Yeah, this one kind of sucked. No one really looked any good, the team didn't look good, it just wasn't good. The Flyers didn't stick around in Ottawa too long after that stinker. They came home quickly and had a Saturday matinee against the Islanders. I was at this game and fully expected a snooze fest, but it might have been the most entertaining game I've seen them play against the Islanders in I don't know how long. The Flyers won 4-3 in a shootout, and Trevor Zegras had a 3-point game, including 2 goals, which were his first as a Flyer. The Zegras goals were fun enough, but we also had some good old-fashioned melees as well. Garnet Hathaway bloodied Scott Mayfield in a fight, who was being a complete butthole the entire game. Then there was a big old scrum early in the third period because we were bullying Matthew Schaefer, and the Islanders resorted to some buffoonery. Either way, 4-3 win over the Isles. On Tuesday this week, the Flyers got another dub with a 3-2 shootout win against the Penguins, who suck. The record is somehow good this season, but again, they suck. On top of just beating the Penguins, we also got some fire back into the rivalry when there were 8 misconduct penalties at the end of OT, and Trevor Zegras was really getting under the skin of some Penguins. He was chirping guys' mustaches and showing everybody Noel Acciari's bald spot. But he did get kicked out of the shootout, but no worries because Matvei Michkov scored a beauty and Bobby Brink displayed some absolute filth to win it. Then, just last night, they took down the Preds 4-1, making it the Flyers' 3rd win in a row and 5th win in the last 6 games. Zegras had his 2nd 3-point game in the last 3 games, scoring 2 goals and 1 assist. Michkov also had 2 assists, both of them primary helpers, and it was a great sign to see him putting points on the board and setting guys up. Outside of that Ottawa game, the Flyers played some fun hockey and got some wins. They weren't perfect in the games they won, but I feel like we might be getting a hint of what this team could be this year. Their first 5 games were against tough opponents, and they hung tough. Then these last 5 games were against some lesser teams, and the Flyers took 4 out of 5. It's still early to really have a read on the team, or the league really, but this team's starting to kind of feel like it did 2 years ago. We're probably better than the bad teams, and we can probably give the good teams a fight. We'll see how that continues to play out as the schedule marches on. If, however, you're riding a high on the good vibes right now, you might want to take a look over at FanDuel. Right now, they have the Flyers' odds to make the playoffs at plus 230, which is a 30% probability. Now, I don't typically bet a ton, but when I do, I usually kind of look at futures. I don't know why. I think it's just I feel better about predicting things long term than on one game. This one's kind of enticing, but I don't know if I'm ready to fully believe in the playoffs just yet. But hey, if you see what they've done so far against the good opponents and bad, maybe you want to put a small sprinkle on that. $10 would win you 23, and if you hit, come April, it'd be like finding a 20 in a pair of shorts you put away for the winter. As always, please bet responsibly. Moving on from the little recap there to another storyline, there have been 2 injuries recently that are definitely worth talking about. First off, Sam Ersson apparently tweaked something lower body during warm-ups at practice on Wednesday. The team placed him on IR, labeled day-to-day, and he should miss about a week. That's what we know for now. Ersson does have a history of groin injuries, so you'd hope it's not that again. In the meantime, old friend Alexei Kolosov was called up from Lehigh Valley to serve as Dan Vladar's backup for the time being. Then last night during the Preds game, Sean Couturier left the game after the first period. He got hit near the elbow area, we think, by a shot from Noah Juulsen, and after the game, Tocchet didn't have any updates on his injury status. The team is off today, so the earliest we'll know anything is probably Saturday. That said, just a little bit ago, Emil Andre did get sent down to the Phantoms and Jacob Gaucher got called up, so that probably tells you that Couturier might miss a game or 2. We don't really know, so we'll see. But if either Ersson or Couturier have to miss a notable amount of time, it'll definitely be a test to see how the team performs with either of them injured. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, oh, well, Ersson stinks anyway, what's the big loss? But we have no idea what Kolosov could give us this year, especially after last year. He's off to a solid start in the AHL with a .918 save percentage in 5 games, and I imagine he'll play one of the games this weekend against Toronto or Calgary. But if the team wants to ride Vladar because they don't trust Kolosov, who really knows how much of a workload Vladar can handle, seeing as his career high in games played in the NHL is only 30. Next up on storylines are 2 quick transactions of note. Both of these are prospect related, which doesn't have a ton to do with the NHL team, but they kinda have NHL implications. First up, Jet Luchenko got sent back to Guelph in the OHL. This one made sense, but if Couturier is potentially hurt, Luchenko probably would have gotten a top 9 look, but can't bring him back now. Then we traded Samu Tuomaala for Christian Kyrou. This is mostly an AHL thing, but Tuomaala did seem like a guy who might get an NHL shot in the past couple years. At the very least, this gives us one less winger in our pipeline, and Kyrou is a smallish right shot D. Doubt he makes it into any Flyers games this year, but hey, it's a shiny new toy. Finally, the last thing under storylines, I want to look at some stats. I know this series is looking at things in 5-game chunks, but most of the ones here today are season stats. No stats really jumped out at me from the past 5 games, and the ones that did I'm going to get to later in the 3 stars segment. The first stat I want to look at is just checking in again with Zegras' faceoffs. He's sitting at a 45% on the season, and he's still doing this hybrid center thing with Christian Dvorak, where Zegras has only been taking about 3 or 4 faceoffs per game. That said, last game versus Nashville, he did have to take a bit more after Couturier left the game and ended up winning 5 of 12. Now, I don't want to see Couturier out for a while with an injury, but I do kind of want to see Zegras get more face-off opportunities, just not that way. Next up in stats, I want to look at shots for and against so far this year. One of the hallmarks of Rick Tocchet hockey is that his teams don't take a ton of shots, and so far through 10 games, we're definitely seeing that with the Flyers. Right now, the Flyers have a total of 486 shot attempts, which is the lowest in the entire league. Luckily, the Flyers also rank 4th in the league in terms of giving up the least amount of shots, so right now it's kind of low event hockey, which is, again, Rick Tocchet hockey. Just to give you some context, so far this year we're averaging about 49 shot attempts per game. Last year we averaged 7 more than that, and the year before that we averaged 15 more than what we're averaging this year. So that was just shot attempts, but also let's take a look at shots on goal. Right now the Flyers have 231 shots on goal, which again is dead last in the league. But we also rank 4th in terms of least amount of shots on goal allowed, so trade-off. Putting that in context again, this year we're averaging 23 shots per game. Last year we averaged 4 more shots than that, and 2 years ago we averaged 10 more shots per game than we are this season. If you've spent any time listening to Tocchet's press conferences this season, he wants his team to take shots in the slot and around the net, high danger areas. And he wants to keep the other team out of the slot, but let them take shots from the distance or low danger areas. Pretty much what every coach wants. So here's a heat map from hockeyviz.com looking at our 5-on-5 offense so far. This right here is the goal, And you can see that we have a small hot spot directly in front of the goal, and then two brighter hot spots at the high slot above the faceoff dots, and then another at the blue line where a righty D might line up. The slot between the two face-off dots is a really, really cold spot so far. So even though the Flyers are winning games right now, they're not doing that well at getting shots off where Tocchet wants them to. Looking at our 5-on-5 defense, this right here is the goal, and you can definitely see hot spots on the perimeter and bad angles. So we are keeping shots to the outside so far, though there is a hot spot in the low slot directly to the right of the goalie. So far our offense isn't getting to the areas where Tocchet wants, but the defense is mostly keeping the other team to the perimeter. I feel like it's helpful to look at this and see what the data says in terms of executing Tocchet's system compared to our eye test. And the final stat I want to look at is just checking in again on our block shots numbers. You'll remember I did this in the first video as well because Tocchet has made a point at the beginning of the year that he doesn't want the team blocking every shot that the other team takes. So far through 10 games, we're averaging 15.5 blocks per game, which ranks dead in the middle of all 32 teams. Again, last year they averaged 17.7 blocks per game. Those numbers don't look that different if you say, oh, they're only blocking 2 less shots per game, but they're also not trying to block every shot. And that'll do it for the storyline segment. We're going to move on to take a look at special teams. Let's take a look first at the power play. It's currently running at a 20% efficiency on the season, which ranks 17th in the league. Honestly, if that's how things ended at the end of the year, I would be totally satisfied with that improvement. Over the last 5 games, the power play ran at 33%, scoring 5 goals and 15 opportunities. Diving in a little deeper for the entire season so far, the Flyers have 14 high-danger scoring chances on the power play, which is tied for the lowest in the league. And when you look at how many high-danger chances they're getting per power play, they're averaging a little less than half a high-danger chance per power play, which ranks 30th in the league. Hopefully the power play keeps getting more dialed in after a pretty successful span over these past 5 games. Moving on to the penalty kill, it's operating at an 89% efficiency on the season, which ranks 4th best in the league. Over the last 5 games, the PK is just under 95% efficiency, allowing only 1 power play goal in 19 PK situations. Really strong numbers there, and it's good to see the PK looking so strong after it kind of fell off last year. On the season, they've given up 19 total high-danger scoring chances on the PK, which is the 7th lowest in the league, tied with Ottawa. Averaging that out, they're giving up just over a half a high-danger chance per PK, which ranks 5th lowest in the league. Really strong start for the PK, especially seeing how many penalties they've taken to start the season. Moving on, it's time to look at the goalies. Dan Vladar continues to be outstanding so far this season. He started 3 of the last 5 games and posted a .944 save percentage in those games, and he has a .939 save percentage on the season. Looking at his advanced stats, his goals saved above expected is at 7.36, which is number 1 in the league. And his goals saved above expected is 7.69, which is 6th best in the league. Vladar has been an absolute revelation to start the year. I don't expect him to end the season in the 930s, but this is a hell of a start, and he's giving this team a chance to win every time he's in net. Sam Ersson started in 2 of the last 5 games and posted a .904 save percentage in those 2 games and has an .876 on the season. Looking at his advanced stats, his goals saved above average is at -2.1, which is 35th out of 43 goalies. Basically, he's given up 2 more goals than the average goaltender. And his goals saved above expected is at 0.28, which is 30th out of 43 goalies. It's good to see this one in the positives now, but with Ersson dealing with another lower body injury, who knows what the rest of the season might look like for him. If it is another groin issue that I mentioned earlier, I'd honestly rather they let him rehab it for as long as it takes. So far this year, the goalie picture has been above average to say the least, but we'll see how things look next video with some uncertainty ahead. Next up, let's do the 3 stars for the last 5 games. For 3rd star, I could have went the simple route and chose Matvei Michkov or Sean Couturier, who both had 4 assists in the last 5 games, or Travis Konechny, who's got 3 goals and 1 assist in the last 5 games. But I'm going to go with someone with a little less glamorous counting stats, defenseman Jamie Drysdale. Drysdale's got 1 goal and 1 assist in the last 5 games, but his overall play, we're seeing a more confident, decisive player and some signs that he's taking a serious step up so far this year. Over the last 5 games, he has a 62% expected goals for percentage at 5-on-5, which is in the top 25 of all defensemen. And on the year, that number is a little above 58%, and again, ranks in the top 25 amongst all defensemen. Drysdale's performance this year has been night and day compared to his previous Flyers seasons. Second star is Dan Vladar. Again, a .944 save percentage in 3 games played. He's been lights out, and it's kind of crazy to have that performance as the second star, but the first star of the last 5 games is Trevor Zegras. 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points in 5 games. Every time Zegras has the puck in the last 5 games, it's felt like he was going to make a play, and a lot of times, he did. I really want to get ahead of myself here with the next thing I'm about to say, even though I know I shouldn't, but Trevor Zegras just might be legit, and his addition to this roster is a lightning rod of high-end talent we desperately needed. Finally, to wrap things up, looking ahead, the Flyers have 5 games in 8 days coming up. There's a back-to-back this weekend with Toronto and Calgary. Toronto's kind of in the mud to start the year, but they've got a talented enough roster that you can't ever take that game lightly. Sunday is Calgary, who are off to a pretty god-awful start, but it could potentially be Vladar's first game against his old team. Then during the week, they head out on the road, first up to Montreal, who are off to a hot start at 8-3-0 so far, then on to play the Preds in Nashville again, then back home against the Sens on Sunday for a chance to put on a better showing than the clunker they had up in Ottawa. Some good teams, some bad teams, travel mixed in, hopefully they can get their first win on the road, and some uncertainties leading into it. I'll see you back here after the next 5. Thanks again to FanDuel for sponsoring this video/podcast, and most importantly, thank you for watching and listening.